Sitting alone in a quiet room, the hum of the refrigerator stops. The traffic outside fades, and for 1 second, silence feels wrong. Your shoulders tense, your ears strain. Something in you says, pay attention, but there's nothing there. Why does silence do this to you? The answer is not what you think. It has nothing to do with ghosts or nerves or overthinking. It goes back to further than language, further than fire. It goes back to a version of you that had to listen for a living. For most of history, or human history, sound was survival. Not music, not conversation, just sound. The snap of a branch, the rustle of grass that moves against the wind instead of with it, a silence that falls too suddenly in a forest full of birds. Your ancestors did not have the luxury of ignoring these things. The ones who flinched at the wrong silence lived. The ones who did not often did not get a second chance. This is the part most people never learn. Silence itself can be a warning sign. In the animal kingdom, birds and insects create a constant low hum of background noise. It is called the acoustic landscape. When a predator moves through that landscape, the birds stop singing. The insects go quiet. Biologists call this landscape a fear, a term coined by the ecologists John Landry and William Ripple, who studied how elk in Yellowstone changed their behavior the moment wolves were reintroduced. The elk did not need to see a wolf. They only needed the forest to go quiet. Humans evolved in the same landscape. For nearly all the roughly 200,000 years Homo sapiens have existed, sudden silence was data. It meant something was moving that made those birds stop singing. It meant pay attention now. That instinct did not disappear when you moved into an apartment with a refrigerator and a thermostat. It just lost its purpose. Here's where it gets stranger. Your brain does not actually process silence as an absence. It processes it as a signal. Neuroscientists have found that the auditory cortex remains highly active when there is no sound at all, essentially predicting what should be there based on the pattern that came before it. When the world suddenly does not match that prediction, your brain treats that mismatch the same way as it treats a threat. This is sometimes called predictive coding, and it explains why a sudden absence of sound can feel just as alarming as a sudden loud noise. Your brain is not built to expect nothing. It is built to expect something, and to notice the moment that something stops. Think about how strange this actually is. A gunshot startles you because it's sudden and loud, but a room going silent should be calming. It has none of the qualities we associate with danger. No motion, no impact, no injury. And yet, your body responds almost the same way. Heart rate ticks up, muscles tighten, attention sharpens. Why would evolution wire you to fear the absence of a thing? Because, for a hunter-gatherer, silence at the wrong moment was rarely peaceful. It was often the split second before something happened. Anthropologists studying the Hadza, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer groups in Tanzania, have documented how closely their listening habits mirror this pattern. Researchers accompanying Hadza hunters noted how a sudden drop in ambient bird activity would cause the group to stop walking entirely, sometimes for several minutes, before continuing. Not because something had happened, because something might. This kind of listening never fully leaves you. Psychologist Roger Yulee described a phenomenon in the 1980s where hospital patients recovering from surgery healed faster and reported less pain when their rooms had a window facing greenery rather than a brick wall, partly attributed to the calming presence of natural ambient sound. Later research built on this, showing that entirely silent, sealed environments, the kind used in some medical isolation units, actually increase anxiety in patients rather than reducing it. Total silence. It turns out, it is almost never restful. It is unsettling in a very specific, very old way. There is a reason horror films understand this better than most psychology textbooks. Sound designers have known for decades that removing all ambient noise right before a jump scare is more effective than adding a loud noise cold. The mind, primed by a normal hum of background sound, notices the second that hum disappears for far more than it notices a sudden bang. The absence is the warning. The bang is just the confirmation. Now think about your own home. The moment power goes out, the refrigerator stops, the air conditioning stops. Every appliance that hums quietly in the background falls silent at once. Most people describe this moment as not as calm, but as eerie. Some reach for a phone flashlight before they even know what they're looking for. This is not modern anxiety. This is a 200,000-year-old alarm system going off in a house that no longer needs it. There is a flip side to this, and it might be the strangest part of all. Total silence is rare in nature, even in the deepest forest. At the quietest hour, there is always something. Wind through leaves, insects, distant water. What almost never occurs naturally is complete dead silence. That is a modern invention, created by soundproof rooms, anechoic chambers, and noise-canceling headphones. Orfield Laboratories in Minnesota built one of the quietest rooms ever measured, absorbing over 99% of all sound. People who sit in it for more than a few minutes report hearing their own heartbeat, their own blood moving, and many describe this experience as disturbing rather than peaceful. The longest recorded time anyone has stayed inside voluntarily is under an hour. Your ears did not evolve for a world with an off switch. They evolved for a world that never fully stops. So the flinch is not a flaw. It is not anxiety. It is not overthinking. It is an inheritance. A tool built for a version of the world where quiet forest meant something was near, and your best chance at survival was to notice before you understood why. You carry that tool into rooms that no longer need it, into apartments with locked doors and no predators for 1,000 miles. The wiring does not know that. It only knows the old rule. When the world goes quiet, listen. Tonight, when the rooms fall silent and your shoulders tense for no reason at all, you will know exactly what that is. Not fear of nothing, a fear of something. And for 1 second, you'll feel exactly what your ancestors felt, standing inside a forest that has just stopped singing.